Okay guys, welcome to the 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 4MATIC, and let's go take this thing on a POV drive. If you haven't checked out my full tour and review, definitely go see that to see the full in-depth details of the vast space of this interior and all the fun quirks and everything. But we're going to focus on driving here, but I am going to give you guys a quick tour of the exterior as I do feel obligated to do so, because it's a pretty nice looking facelift for the 2024 model year. Now we have this one finished here in polar white with the AMG package, so we're getting a nice bumper and the night package as well, so it's going to kind of black out all the trim. I think it looks pretty cool. We have these AMG wheels as well, 5-spoke wheels, and I do quite like the updated headlights on the GLS. Now the grille could be a little bit more favorable on maybe for the AMG model, but this one's really nice in this kind of gunmetal finish as well. I do like the AMG package though. I think that really kind of spruces up the exterior even more so. Nice polar white paint option, not a crazy paint option, and at around $92,000 you don't have the most impressive specifications and options I guess on the GLS, but you really have everything you need on this one and more so as well. It's a lot of the luxury features that you may need to option in if you really have the money and you just want to kind of splurge out on a nice GLS. I do also really love the new taillights. I think they kind of really enhance the look of the GLS. I wasn't a big fan of the previous ones, but this kind of really does it for me. Power tailgate, air suspension, all the fun stuff. And let's go hop inside and take this thing on a drive. Quick look at the rear seats for you guys. If you didn't want to check out the full video, check out the ambient lighting with captain's chairs, third row as well. And let's go head out. So what do we have under the hood here? We have a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 mild hybrid, around a little over 3 engine, 70-ish horsepower, which is nice. 9-speed gearbox. Let's close this up. We have wireless CarPlay as well. My phone's wireless charging right there, right now. Locking up that nice center console here. It's a gorgeous interior. You can see the ambient lighting. But let's head out on a drive. Before we do so, we're going to check out our reverse cameras here, because they are very extensive. Really fantastic camera system in the GLS. I cannot complain about any of the cameras here. They're incredibly high quality. Just check out how nice they are. Of course, we have 360-degree parking sensors as well, and it does also have these different modes where you can kind of adjust your cameras, check out different angles as well. We have an off-road cameras. You can see a curb detection as well, which is such a cool feature. You see your 360 view here. We also have this 360-degree view where you can kind of scroll around the vehicle. You can see it is kind of knowing that we have our lights on. It can shows the blinkers as well. Check that out. Love that feature. Even shows the wheels being turned and the directions of 360 around you. So really fantastic camera system. You can even mark parking spots and camera locations to turn the camera on. And we do have parking assistant as well. I'll do a demo for you guys right now with that. And let's take this thing on a drive. Now I actually have the sport gauge on, but I'm going to pop the classic gauge on for you guys for now, and we'll check out the other gauges in a little bit. But this GLS has been a treat to drive over this past week. I'm going to raise the air suspension up to its comfort setting right now. I believe it is in a lower entry level height I had. There's an off-road height as well for the air suspension. So really smooth, luxurious, big SUV. And before we even head out, I want to just highlight the insane smoothness of this 48-volt start-stop system. The vehicle is off right now, so it actually shuts off as you're coming to a stop and not when you come to a stop. So you never even feel it stop. It's already coasting, which is fantastic, and you never notice it even coming on as well. Let's just have a little acceleration here. And we are in comfort mode actually, so nice inline six engine grunt right there. I really do like the sound of this engine. It's quite nice. I'm not sure if it's fake pumped in through like speakers or something, but generally sounds very nice. So how is this GLS like to drive? I want to pop over actually to our driving gauge here on our infotainment system. You can control it with your finger on the steering wheel, by touch, or via this little trackpad here. So you have a lot of different ways to control the infotainment system. But I love this gauge because it gives you an idea of what's happening with your air suspension level, as well as the suspension kind of just working in general. Anytime you go over any bump or undulation, it'll kind of reflect itself onto this great gauge and kind of give you like this little wave pattern of how the suspension is kind of soaking up the bumps essentially. And it's a really cool way to kind of understand how it's working. We have a full air suspension on this vehicle. It does not actually have the advanced air suspension that kind of scans the road and kind of previews everything for you. That's in the higher end GLS's, but you still can't complain with a really fantastic air suspension system. This is right up there with the best of the best Range Rover, Land Rover air suspension systems. Really comfortable, soaks up the bumps really well. And if my only complaint with this air suspension system is that it is very luxury focused. This is a luxury, comfort focused vehicle. If you're looking for something sporty and more aggressive, you're gonna unfortunately either gonna want to upgrade all the way up to the GLS 63 AMG, which is gonna cost you a pretty penny, or I'm gonna go with a competitor. I'm gonna say the X7 is probably gonna drive and handle a lot better than this GLS. Even though this is not bad, I wouldn't call it bad whatsoever. It's just definitely more tuned for luxury and comfort versus some of the competitors, which honestly is not a bad thing, especially in some areas with some more rough pavement. One issue that I was gonna mention though with the suspension of this GLS actually has to do with coming around a corner and bumps in a corner. So the thing I've noticed is that in those situations, it kind of like jumps a little bit very quickly, but catches itself. It's not really aggressive or anything. It's just a little bit of like a little undulation that you kind of notice in the rear end of the air suspension system. And you kind of see that little four corner gauge right there. That's really my only complaint there. Otherwise, no real complaints with the GLS's suspension system. So very, very strong power from this inline six powertrain here on the GLS. Really appreciate the power on this car. It's honestly fantastic. And this isn't even like the twin turbo V8 options from the GLS, which is pretty impressive. I'm gonna pop it back into comfort here. And I wanna demonstrate you guys the kind of Distronic system that the Mercedes has on here. It's their kind of version of radar adaptive cruise control with all the lane keep assist features, blind spot sensors all around you, keeping you safe at all times. And this really is a fantastic system. Borderline, you can call it a self-driving system, even though it's not. It's really, really good. And I'm going to show you how it works in this vehicle. So you want to make sure all your systems are on, and that you can kind of go through in the settings, and you can make sure all of your safety systems are activated. That's really going to give you the full benefit of not only being safe in the vehicle at all times, but also giving you the full benefits of all of the Distronic safety features. So when you go over to your assistant settings over in vehicle settings, you can see you have driving settings. So you can have active Distronic assist Distronic. You can change the speed limits. You can have it adopt the speed limit that we're cruising at, or you can have it based on your route actually through the navigation, which is a fantastic feature. We also have a host of other systems as well, as lane keep assist, active steering assist, active lane change assist, and more collision avoidance, additional assistance features, as well as we have the 360-degree view camera system as well. So there's a lot of wonderful safety systems essentially standard in this GLS, which is great. And let's just test out this Distronic system here on the highway. So it's really simple to use. You, on the bottom left side of your steering wheel, you have all of your kind of controls for that, and you can turn it on literally by pressing on. So make sure it's on here. You'll see your adaptive cruise control button pop up there, and you press set. And now it's literally on. That's it. As long as you have everything else on, your Distronic is essentially set up already and ready to use. Very simple to change your speed. You can swipe up or down on this left little touchpad area here, which is really nice. You can also change your following distance, and when you're in the assistance screen, it kind of gives you this cool little display here to kind of change your following distance from, which is really cool. I really like that, and it's just a great system. Now, any critiques in the GLS? It may just be that it's a large vehicle, and I found in larger vehicles that a lot of these lane keep and steering assist systems can be a little bit wonky going through corners. I think it's just because they're giant vehicles, they have lighter steering, there's a lot of weight to be moving around, and I found this across the board. This is not a GLS thing, but it does do it just a little bit. So you always, of course, want to have your hands on the wheel in general, but definitely a little bit extra in this a large vehicle. Now, it has active lane change assist here, so I put on my left blinker, and it is fully changing lanes for me into the center lane here, and I deactivate it by just turning the blinker off, which is pretty nice. Now, what this thing does not have, which I'm pretty sure it does not have, the kind of full eye tracking software and systems where it will be able to fully legally take your hands off the wheel like a Blue Cruise or a Super Cruise style system. This does not have that, but it is a very advanced system, and you do generally feel very safe with it, even if there is an event of a situation where you do have to take your hands off the wheel for a brief second, which hopefully never happens, but you have that kind of peace of mind that you have that security there around you. And again, changing lanes is super easy. It just pops itself right back over into the other lane. Check that out. Really cool. Very easy to use. And I honestly have been a really big fan of the system here, especially as it's just where the GLS is at home on these highways and these long road trips. And when you're on these long road trips, it's great to have this system activated because it just works so well. Now, another thing with the GLS is that this one does have augmented reality navigation system. So if I go over to our navigation system here and I use it specifically, I can't use an external system. Here you can see the AR navigation system kicking into life right here. So you can see on the your main instrument cluster here, it kind of just gives you a lot of directions and stuff, but it's in the infotainment system here where you're getting that AR navigation, which is really cool. When you do come up to an exit, those little arrows are really just going to kind of pop over in the direction of where you need to go. I think it would be cool if you had the heads-up display option and you'd be able to do that, but again, you're going to have this step up in some packages to get that feature. I think the Cadillac Escalade does put that in the cluster in front of you, so I'm not sure why Mercedes doesn't do that. I think they may consider it a safety feature to not have it there. The thing I may want to point out here is that this infotainment system, while it is easy to use, the touch points can be a little bit cumbersome sometimes, especially with this trackpad here. I wish there was haptic feedback on the trackpad itself, and I also wish there was a physical button or something on the steering wheel to control it. Yes, it is a touchscreen, but you do have to reach a little bit to get to it, and you can control it from your steering wheel, but sometimes it just doesn't want to register the inputs, and once you kind of try to scroll it through it a little bit of times, you really have to give it these very gentle inputs to kind of get where you want to, and then it becomes a little bit more intuitive. But sometimes, like navigating through Apple CarPlay, it just, right here, it got stuck. It glitched a little bit, and it just doesn't want to work all the time. Now, one of the most fantastic features of the GLS, I honestly have to say, is its 48-volt mild hybrid system. Now, it doesn't get the most impressive fuel economy at all. It's a big SUV. It's all heavy, it's box-shaped, and Mercedes has tried to compensate that by adding in a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And honestly, it's really impressive, and I'm having really fun kind of learning it throughout this week. So I'm just going to go over to these screens here because they may not show you too much information, but I think they're pretty cool to look at. So as you can see here, now we are in eco mode in our drive mode selector here. So we'll stay in eco mode. This is going to get us our most efficient settings, and this engine really loves to coast, and I mean it shuts completely off on the highway, which is just awesome, I think, because it's really trying to squeeze out as much fuel economy as you possibly can. I did a road trip, a little bit of a road trip this past weekend, and it got up to 25 miles per gallon, which was really impressive actually, for this massive SUV. And I just want to demonstrate some of that capability right now on this highway here. So what it does is so it just shut off right now actually, so we're coasting, the engine's completely off, and the integrated starter generator, which uses no belts, is so quick to turn on. You don't even feel it, but you sometimes don't even know that honestly, you actually never know that the engine is off because it is such a smooth operation. It's just seamless. It's like butter seamless. You never know it even turns off, and it almost turns on before you even think about it needing to turn on. Like, I feel like I'm just like a centimeter, not even on the gas pedal, and it instantly turns back on, which is really fantastic. So we're gonna see, now it's not gonna coast here because it knows there's a vehicle in front of me and we have to slow down a little bit. It should coast right around now. There we go. So once it kind of feels like the speed is set based off the camera systems, it will coast. So this is a very intelligent 48 volt system, especially in eco mode. It's using a lot of the car's sensors around it to kind of enable these features. It also does this in terms of intersections, actually. So if it knows there's an intersection coming up with a stop sign, it won't shut the engine off because it knows it has to give you either like full braking power or just full power or anything at any moment when you may need it. But if you are coming at a braking situation at that stop sign, it will actually shut off while you're braking and coming to a stop to kind of let it coast a little bit and then conserve some energy, which is really, really cool. And another feature I've noticed with this kind of coasting symbol that will come up sometimes is in the mile/hour setting. So if you're going at speed, sometimes it will say coast miles per hour. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it has to do with this, just the rate of speed. You're going a little bit too fast to be coasting, or if you're in a curve or a turn situation where it might not be safe to be doing that, it will display that button there. And honestly, 25 miles per gallon in this large SUV is pretty decent. It did take a little bit of time to kind of get up to that level, but I could definitely see like that EPA rated range of like 23, 24 miles per gallon on the highway being something achievable on long trips. Now, it doesn't like to coast so much in Distronic when you're on your radar cruise control. It kind of just likes to do it when you're kind of in control of the vehicle. And you do have like this eco score on here, so you have an eco display. We're not doing particularly too well right now, but it's fun things to play around with, and it can make a road trip a little bit more entertaining if you're trying to just, you know, reach that miles per gallon goal right there, which is kind of fun. So guys, what am I gonna rate this GLS? I honestly would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I wouldn't call it a class-leading vehicle in any real terms. It's a good choice, definitely to consider in this segment. But I think my heart is still going to be in a BMW X7. Just, I personally prefer the looks. I know it's a crazy thing to say to some people, but if you're going to look at the German vehicles, I might just go for that one because I like a little bit more of a sporty, dynamic driving experience, and I don't want to be shelling out God knows how much money for a GLS 63 when I can just get that in another vehicle for a little bit cheaper. Not to say this vehicle is bad whatsoever. It's a great car, very comfortable, very luxurious. Like I mentioned, some of the little minus points here. This expensive sound insulating package is great, but I still hear a lot of road noise coming in here. The audio system, well, it's a nice Burmester system with these gorgeous speaker grills. I wish could be a little bit better for $92,000 without having to opt for an additional 3D audio system package. Nonetheless, guys, thank you for joining me on this review of the GLS 450 4MATIC 2024. And thank you again to Mercedes for providing me this vehicle for review. And as always, guys, stay tuned for more coming on Allcarnews. Cheers.